Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, what we're gonna do is continue this little Halloween theme we got going, because this story is terrifying, quite frankly, and quite Mikely. We are staying in autumn to tell the story of a 16-year-old who is craving freedom, independence, and who jumped at the opportunity to have a house to herself one weekend. That's exactly what Cassie Stoddart got in 2006. Well, that and a whole lot more. This starts out like a horror movie. It's got the creepy basement. You've got the dogs growling at something you cannot see. This is literally a case of life, though, imitating art, because the people behind it were inspired by Scream. That movie rules, this story not so much. I mean, I enjoy dressing up in the costume because it's pretty cool, but these boyos leave me in the dust, especially as they filmed it all. Let's give it a go.
Hell, you restrict somebody from it, they're gonna want it more.
This case takes us to the city of Pocatello in Idaho, a city that is reportedly very, very safe. Aren't they always, though? I mean, that's kind of where this whole gig comes from. Very safe places come up a lot in these stories, huh? Wonder why that is. Pocatello, it's the largest city in Bannock County, southern Idaho. So let's Idaho. Pocatello is home to roughly 57,000 people, the Idaho State University, and most prestigiously of all, buckle up, the Museum of Clean. It's chock-a-block of vacuum cleaners.
Found pure enjoyment in cleaning and pure value in cleaning. I don't want to walk and gawk museum. I want people to see this and actually be impressed to change their life.
Wow, what a crazy place. Cassie Jo Stoddart was born on the 21st of December 1989 in Pocatello herself. A lifelong Pocatelloan, Pocatello-ish, whatever. Cassie was the middle child, older brother Christy, younger brother Andrew, who she was close with, there being only an 18-month difference, almost Irish twins. Cassie attended Pocatello High School along with her boyfriend, Matt Beckham, and her eventual murderers. Yeah, she knew them pretty well.
We're gonna be just like Scream, except real life terms.
Cassie was quoted as, a good kid, not into drinking, not into partying. Her A's were as straight as her noggin. A very innocent kid, which I think makes the whole thing, just a lot more shocking, right? So I guess, here, you may as well, kids do drugs, is not the message I should be saying. Cassie was well liked in school. Her hobbies included reading, music, and she was the definition of, hey Cassie, would you mind, watching our place while we're away, maybe for a weekend as we're out of town?
Found our victim, and sad as it may be, she's our friend.
You would trust her, to babysit, to look after your dogs, to look after your cats. She was responsible, she was mature.
I'm horny just thinking about it.
Hell yeah.
And that is exactly what happened in September 2006. On the 22nd of September 2006, a Friday night, Cassie's aunt and her uncle, that was Allison and Frank, they asked her if she would just keep an eye on their place as they'd be gone for 2 nights. They were going out of town to just keep an eye on the pets. They had 3 cats and they had 2 dogs.
Our first victim is going to be Cassie Stoddart. She's going to be alone.
No biggie, Cassie would sleep at their house alone. Hey, it's a bit of freedom for a 16-year-old gal. What 16-year-old wouldn't want a place to themselves for the weekend in a big creepy house, kind of in the middle of nowhere? Yeah, who wouldn't want that? Cassie's aunt and uncle lived just north of Pocatello, on Whispering Cliffs Drive. Are you serious right now? Roads haunted. The area is pretty rural, houses are far apart, lots of land. You could get away with a lot living there. So on the 22nd of September, after a regular ass day at school early in the semester, Cassie was over there in that big old house. Her mom dropped herself and her boyfriend off at about 5:30 p.m. No funny business, or it's the snip snip for you, pal.
In a big, dark house, out in the middle of nowhere. How perfect can you get?
At one point that evening, also, a couple of mates popped over. I'm talking Tori Adamchick and Brian Draper. They were classmates of Cassie and Matt, friends, and they hung out for a bit, arriving at the house shortly after 8:20 p.m. That evening was very quiet, you know, in this early autumnal time of year. All four of them were just having some, you know, snacks, some sodas, some soft drinks. They were watching a flick. They watched Kill Bill 2, which, let's be honest, is the worst out of the Kill Bills. They faffed about. They were normal-ass teens. Cassie, she would take them on a tour of the house, eager little beavers that they were, upstairs and also downstairs into the basement of that house on Whispering Cliff Drive. I wonder, when they were down in the basement though, I wonder if there would have been an audible click as the basement door was unlocked. At 9:30 PM, Tori and Brian, they headed off. They were going to the cinema in town. I guess Kill Bill wasn't doing it for them. And so that left Matt and Cassie alone again, once again in that house. Then, strangely, about half an hour after Tori and Brian left, I'm talking 10, the power in the house is suddenly cut out. Electricity was gone, but then seconds later, it came back on. It scared the bejesus out of Matt and Cassie.
And they are right in that house just down the street.
It freaked the shit out of the couple in this big, strange house, alone in the middle of nowhere. And then, like, to add to that sense of uneasiness, freakiness, hauntedness, the two family dogs, had wandered into like the area, and they were staring at the basement door and growling. Now, the power to the place was downstairs in the basement, but Cassie and Matt were like, no, I'm not going down there. It was creepy as shit that September night, like it was getting late. They could hear noises coming from the house. It was just very, very creepy. About an hour later, after all this creepy stuff started happening, at about 11:15 PM, Matt's mother arrived over to that house on Whispering Cliffs Drive to take Matt home. And Matt was like, he was asking Cassie to come with him. You know, this house was just very, something was wrong. It was very creepy. But Cassie, she wouldn't. She was like, here, listen, even though she was feeling uneasy and creeped out, you know, she was responsible. She was like, listen, I have to watch, I'm here to watch the house. I can't just leave. It's probably all in their head, you know, hearing things, strange houses can make noises, settle, whatever. And so he left at that. He kissed Cassie goodbye, and then Matt and his mother drove swiftly off. As he was on the way home, he actually called Tori to see if they were in town. Maybe they could hang out that night, but Tori was just whispering on the line, probably because he was in the cinema. Having left though, Matt couldn't shake this feeling. He really felt like something was off, you know, as it got past midnight, you know, he was back home. As it got, you know, into the witching hours, he tried to call Cassie. Periodically throughout the night, he tried to call her, and the phone rang out. The following day, September 23rd, after a rough night, Matt still couldn't get a hold of Cassie, calling repeatedly to no answer. Now, Matt, he didn't drive himself, so he couldn't go over to that house. His parents, that Saturday, they were both in work, and he asked his friend Tori, hey, you drive, you know, would you mind giving me a lift over there? Tori said he was out of gas. In fact, as that Saturday went on, no one had heard from Cassie at all. Matt even reached out to Cassie's mother, Anna, to see if she had heard, and Anna was actually kind of pissed off at Cassie for not contacting her to let her know she was safe, not answering the phone. She was a little bit annoyed at that. But no one actually physically went out to that house on Whispering Cliffs Drive to see for themselves what was going on. But you know, here, listen, you know, Allison and Frank, the homeowners, they'd be back the next day, you know, on the Sunday, so I'm sure it's fine. Sure, that even Saturday evening, after Matt's mother finished up work for the day, she said to Matt, here, listen, I'm sure it's fine, like, you're worried about nothing, but here, listen, you know, I'm done with work for today. If you want me to drive you over to that house just so you can see for yourself, you're right. Get your shit, we can go. But Matt said, I've actually already made plans. I'm going to a sleepover at Tori Adamchick's. So it was the next day, the 24th of September, that Allison and Frank, the owners of the house on Whispering Cliffs, arrived home that afternoon with their 13-year-old daughter. And it was the 13-year-old daughter that found Cassie.
Emergency 911?
I need an ambulance out of my house.
Okay, what's going on?
There's a girl dead on my floor. She's missing a finger.
The police, they were called. Cassie, she had been mercilessly, viciously stabbed to death inside the house. She'd been stabbed 36 times. When the investigation kicked off, Matt, he was spoken with first. After all, her boyfriend, the last person to see her alive. Even though it was almost 48 hours ago by this stage, what happened that weekend and what happened, that night when Matt was telling me like all this creepy shit that was going on in their house, which sounds like a horror movie. It's the kind of stuff you hear and it's like, oh, this is a horror movie. Oh wait, no, that's a movie. This is real life. Well, a movie came to life. Matt was taken in swiftly. He was questioned about what happened the night of and what happened afterward, and he said that after he left, his mother had seen Cassie, in the door when she'd come to pick Matt up, so, last he saw her, somebody else saw Cassie was still alive then. They went back to Matt's house, he was with his parents, his mom went to bed, he stayed up with his dad, they watched a movie, and then, they went to sleep. Matt, he willingly did a polygraph and he passed with flying colors. He didn't seem like he had anything to do with Cassie's death, he wasn't responsible. Someone else had snuck into that creepy remote house and they'd done a horror movie. And then, towards the end of that interview with Matt, when the police were fairly sure they could move on, Matt said, oh wait, yeah, sorry. Brian and Tori, they popped over that night, actually. I almost forgot to tell you.
There should be no law against killing people. I know it's a wrong thing, but hell, you restrict somebody from it, they're gonna want it more.
We're going to make history. People will die. Now we're gonna go over to Cassie and Matt's house. We'll sneak in through the door because chances are they're probably in Cassie's room. So we'll sneak in the front door. We'll make a noise outside, and Matt will come out to investigate, kill him, and scare the shit out of Cassie. I mean, like, holy shit, dude.
I'm horny just thinking about it.
Hell yeah. We're gonna be just like Scream, except real life terms. We're gonna be murderers.
Baby.
So we're gonna kill her and her friends, and we're gonna keep moving on. It's gonna be extra fun.
You're evil.
Yes, I am. We're sick psychopaths that get pleasure of killing other people.
Evil, the origin, is a follower of Satan.
There is no Satan.
Real? Then shut up.
Then how are we supposed to express ourselves?
Good and bad.
We're bad.
We're bad.
Now, Tori and Brian were both friends with Cassie and Matt. It's a relatively small town, they all attended high school together.
I was really actually going to do it.
Oh, yeah?
I was like, I looked super scared.
Hey, look, it's Cassie.
Hey, look, I don't know.
Hello, Cassie. I'm getting you on tape, okay? Say hi, please. Okay, see ya.
Tori and Brian, they were like these little dark, twisted, kind of runts of cunts.
Have you seen Tori? He's supposed to be here at 7:30, and it's 8:19. He's an hour late. You don't even care, dude. Okay.
They had a love of serial killers and were known to, like, when they were watching Scream, which they loved a lot, they were known to take notes on how not to get caught.
Okay?
Sounds like fun.
We found our victim, and sad as it may be, she's our friend. But you know what? We all have to make sacrifices. Our first victim is going to be Cassie Stoddart. She's going to be alone in a big, dark house out in the middle of nowhere. How perfect can you get?
I love when these like friggin' little bitches, they never follow their own advice. Born in 1990, Brian was adopted at birth, and by all counts from his adoptive parents, the family were normal. What is normal? Well, there was no indication that there was anything sinister about their son Brian. Brian would later say he didn't really belong anywhere, so he just clung to Tori and followed his footsteps. Tori is usually described as like the ringleader of the two, the bigger gobshite of the two. There isn't much on Tori, but later he would point the finger right back at Brian, saying,
You made me do it!
Saying he was the ringleader. Tori's parents would even go so far as to later, oh, Tori's just he's a kind and innocent young man. Both would be questioned by the police. Oh, so you just popped by, huh? What you do, huh? What movie did you go see? Huh? Neither boy could tell the investigators what the movie was or what it was about when they were questioned. In fact, the investigators though already knew this, because once they heard, oh yeah, they went to the cinema that night, well, the police themselves went to the cinema, to see what had gone on, what movies were showing on that Friday night when they went to the pictures. And when they went in, they spoke to an employee who was working that Friday night, and she was a classmate of Tori and Brian's. So, she would know them to see at the very least, right? And she was able to confirm to the police she never once saw them enter the cinema that night. Both boys were interviewed multiple times, as their stories and events were not matching up. Because of their age, both boys were interviewed with their parents being there. Slowly, though, their stories changed. Okay. You got me. We're not being completely honest about what we did that night. Alright, fine. Holding my hands up. Don't shoot. What were they doing? Trying to steal cars, they said.
We've done our homework, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, you didn't go to the movie.
Okay.
You were not at that movie theater.
We didn't go to the movie. Okay. I can tell you what we're doing. I was trying to hide this, but I guess I have to tell you now.
You're gonna have to, man. It's the only way out.
We went through cars.
Okay, you went through cars. What does that mean?
We checked for the cars that they're locked, and then
Where at?
we go
Where was that?
inside them.
Where at?
Tori had to drive. I don't know.
Okay, book me. We're just trying to steal cars. We certainly didn't do anything else that night. Wink, wink. That wink is not admissible.
Is there anything to do with the murder, Cassie?
No, I did not have anything to do with the murder of Cassie.
We have a promise from you that there is no more lights, right?
No, this is it. This is it. I don't know why you even think I would kill my friend.
It was when the polygraph machine was brought out that the story quickly changed once again. A new story was coming out of Brian Draper's mouth.
This was supposed to happen. It's supposed to be a joke.
Brian and Tori were best buds. They did everything together, and they'd filmed their entire day. Everything about it, including them making a death list of who they would kill, and Cassie had made it to the top of the list.
September 22nd, 2006, we're skipping our 4th hour. We 55 samples. 4 wins. We're actually tonight. We're supposed to happen tonight. So hopefully it will go wrong. Everything will go smoothly and we can get our first kill done. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Cassie's family. She had number one. We have to stick with the plan. She's perfect, so she's gonna die. Because I made things all wrong. So we got our plan all worked out now. So I've always wanted to make a mark with one. So it's a good way to do it. That would be a perfect thing, yes.
After Brian and Corey left the house on Whispering Cliffs Drive at around 9:20 p.m., a house they had unlocked the basement door in, unbeknownst to Cassie, they drove a few minutes down the road and they parked.
We're here in his car. The time is 9:50. September 22nd, 2006. Unfortunately, we have the grueling task of killing our two friends. and they are right in a house just down the street.
We just talked to them. We were there for an hour.
You know, there's lots of doors. There's lots of places to hide. I locked the back doors. It's all locked. Now we just gotta wait.
They waited. They waited about half an hour, 20 minutes. At 9:50, they went back to the house, sneaking up the drive. And they went into the house via the unlocked basement door. They got their knives ready and wore Halloween masks to cover their faces. Matt and Cassie were still on the floor above them, and they wanted to give them the fright of their lives. They went to the circuit breaker and started turning it off and back on again, trying to lure them down to the basement. They broke things, they slammed doors. Matt and Cassie would not go down though. They were too freaked out. And the dogs were at the top of the stairs growling down into the darkness. Matt, he didn't want to leave Cassie alone in that house knowing something was going on here in this creepy place. But, you know, Cassie, she wouldn't leave. She was just too responsible. You know, she couldn't leave this place just alone. She couldn't leave these animals here alone. Then, soon after Matt left, he called Tori. A Tori who was whispering because he was in the basement of the house Matt just left. And they would have murdered Matt too if he had stayed. Then, a while later, they snuck upstairs in the dark, having cut the power once more. Cassie was laying on the couch, and the boys, wearing terrifying masks, walked into the room and slammed a door to scare her. Then they both leapt at her, stabbing her approximately 30 times. They then fled the scene, with Cassie bleeding out on the floor.
I just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a joke. I stabbed her in the throat and I saw her lifeless body just disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie. That felt like something real. I mean, it went by so fast.
We gotta get our act straight.
It's okay. Okay, let's buy movie tickets now.
Okay.
Come on.
No.
Bye.
Brian went through the events of the night, how they unlocked the basement door, how they returned to the property and tried to scare both Matt and Cassie. When it came to the actual event of the murder, Brian, though, threw all the blame on Tori.
Tori stepped in front of me and he walked over here. Cassie was saying, who's there and stuff, and I was about to say, you know, hey, and then she screamed, wow, when that happens, do you see her and do you see Tori? I see Tori walk over there, and is she still laying down? She was scared. She was standing up and she had not a cell phone, but like a house phone in her hand. So I walked closer and it was really astounding. And then I was like, what's going on? Was she laying on the ground? Yes, and she was breathing really hard. And it's like, I have to kill her. So I stabbed her again. What are you doing? So was he stabbing her? Was it in the chest? Yes. Yeah. There was pitch black, and then he shined his flashlight on Cassie, and it was her face. I knew she wasn't there anymore. And I just started. And we walked back downstairs, we turned the power back on, and we went to his car. Let's stop before we leave the house, okay? This is very important, okay? Did you stab her too? No, I didn't touch her.
Tori was the one to stab her first and stab her multiple times. Brian only stabbed her, you know, in the leg. Oh, gently. He grazed her a little bit because Tori, you know, pressured him into it. She's dying anyway. Do it, pussy.
We put the pieces of the puzzle together. We know how it went down.
Tell us what happened.
With what?
Out of Cassie's place.
We went through cars, me and Brian.
Okay. You know, we're not here to insult or anything, but we don't believe your story. And we don't believe your story. And I don't think your dad believes your story about going through the cars. It's a tough one. Take a deep breath and do it, but you know the truth. The truth is easy for you. Or we can help you. If we don't get the truth, we can't come together. We can't work this thing out. We can't do it. You're going to be left out in the cold.
Can I talk to an attorney?
You can do that.
When it came to Tori's time to tell this story, he backpedaled though and saying it was Brian. Brian did it. No, I'm innocent. You got the wrong guy. He assumed they were just making a movie, like Scream. It was all supposed to be fun, nothing actual sinister. was supposed to happen. We were just playing a game. We just wanted to freak, you know, our friends out on an autumn night. We weren't actually going to kill anybody. In fact, he said he only went upstairs after Brian murdered Cassie. He said he went upstairs, found Brian like a psychopath, covered in blood, standing over Cassie's lifeless body. That's what he said he saw. Brian eventually led investigators to a shit ton of evidence in the Black Rock Canyon, about 20 minutes from the murder site. There, they uncovered the masks the boys used, gloves, 3 knives, and a VHS tape. It appeared the items had been partially burned, but most of it was salvageable, including knives which were linked to Cassie's murder, and of course all the damning evidence on those videotapes, which clearly showed this was not a prank gone wrong. They had planned this true and true. On top of Cassie's blood found on the knives and those videotapes, Tori's fingerprints were also found on the partially burned masks. So no real doubt of, you know, not doing it here. I mean, come on. Both were tried separately.
Ladies and gentlemen, point blank, Brian Lee Draper murdered Cassie Stoddart.
Brian in April 2007 and Tori May 2007. Both were convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder.
Jury has answered guilty.
Just happy. My baby got her justice.
They were tried as adults, receiving life without parole, plus 30 years for the conspiracy charge. The defense teams had tried and failed to get the videotapes ruled as inadmissible, as they became public for everyone to view. This was denied. Tori maintained, and still does to this day, his innocence.
Today was the second day of Tori Adamczyk's post-conviction relief hearing, and today the convicted murderer took the stand himself.
During day 2 of Adamczyk's post-conviction relief hearing, the defense started their case on Wednesday, questioning the judge and past attorneys on whether the prosecution prohibited Adamczyk's defense attorneys from having access to the actual murder weapons, and if they offered Adamczyk a plea deal of 30 years in prison. The now 25-year-old revisited the night of Cassie Jo Stoddart's murder. Adamczyk says the plan was not to kill Cassie, but to scare her. He also says he never stabbed the victim, saying he felt anxious and shocked that night.
He stated time and time again that he was simply a pawn, brought into Brian's little game here. He had watched Scream too many times and it just, you know, went cuckoo. Brian was the bully here. He was just following, you know, orders. He got swept along with the current. Nobody's really buying that, you know, his guilt simply by association, other than Tori's parents, though. They're got him. Tori's mother even wrote a book called The Guilty Innocent, about, you know, her experiences of her child's, going to trial and how, ooh, they've all got it wrong. The Guilty Innocent, huh? Where? They both have filed appeals, and so far all have been dismissed. In 2016, the courts made mandatory life sentences for minors without parole unconstitutional. This ruling being applied retroactively, meaning young offenders in jail on a life without parole sentence could be eligible for resentencing and even parole. That included Brian and Tori. This resentencing, though, was eventually denied for both boys. Their life without parole sentencing upheld.
Nearly 5 years ago, this community nightmare began. 2 teenagers were making videos of how they planned to kill classmate and friend Cassie Jo Stoddart. On September 22nd, the murder took place. Today, the Idaho Supreme Court rejected the appeal of Tori Adamczyk, upholding his convictions in the 2006 murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart.
I owe a tremendous debt to Cassie Stoddart, and the only way that I can even start you paying that is to, first of all, tell exactly what happened to her, and do not dishonor her in anything that you do in your life. And I've tried that. It's very hard. It's very hard. But I think that it's all I can do, and I have an obligation. I have to do that, or I'm a monster, I guess.
Later, Brian at least would take some accountability for what he did. At least he was owning up to the horrible crime. Tori, not so much. He is, after all, the guilty innocent. Where?
Tori's a good kid, and Tori's just a kind person, and we're still a family. He's still every bit as much a part of our family as before.
I remember the first article I read about my case. Geez, I mean, they made me sound like this brutal, cold, psychopathic killer.
They were talking about Brian. They were making you just like Brian.
They put us like as the same person.
He still didn't commit this crime.
Yeah,
he's not saying that. He's not saying that.
I'm saying I made some mistakes and I learned from them.
But your mistakes weren't anything that you were charged with. They weren't the murder and the conspiracy.
Yeah.
That was Brian.
Tori still blamed Brian for everything, saying he was just swept along, and that is a hill he will die on. A hill in the prison, though.
He's been in prison 6 years, and he's still on his first day. You know, he hasn't progressed at all.
As of September 2022, both are serving their sentences at Idaho State Correctional Institution. With both of them, though, turning on each other, I imagine it can get pretty awkward seeing your buddy, like, from across the yard, you know? Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you getting to the end of the video, which is right now. I'm being here with Misha. That means a lot, so thanks. I'll see you as always real soon in the next video, which will be in a couple of days, so look forward to that. But until then, you know, just take care of yourselves and each other, because I love you. And also go into your bathroom right now, turn off the light, look into the mirror and say, let's give it a go 5 times, and I'll see you real soon. Mike out.